All right, Saturday, and that means it's time to check on my rock tumbler. Let's get this thing open. All right, Saturday, and that means so we have probably mostly, well, I'd say it's about half and half, chert and quartz at this point. Last week we added a lot of new quartz that I collected in Albemarle County. So for this week, we get to see how that all turned out. So this rock tumbler holds about 12 pounds of rock. Right now, I'm just going to spraying everything down to clean it off and clean off some of the junk. Been pretty good though. I can get it pretty clean before I move it to the table. Hey Maggie, how's it going? Normally I do this in the morning, but I was out of town this morning, so you get me now. So let's move over to the table. Oops. See if I can remember which knob lets me turn what on my stand here. There we go. That should be pretty good. All right, so let's get started. First, oh, let's check out. So some of these, it's called metabasalt. So it's basalt rocks that have, oops, too far, not enough light. Let's move the lamp to the other side. All right, so metabasalt. It's basalt that's started to, but hasn't quite necessarily taken on some silica, which allows it to. Sorry, I'm adjusting my camera. Gives it a bit. So metabasalt, basalt, it's taken on silica, which makes it easier for the rock to polish, basically. Hmm, Let's see. I feel like every week I have to refigure out how I want to do my camera layout. Set up. Here we go. All right. Can you check the chat? Can you get a shout out? MN or FN, sorry. Yeah, sure. I can shout people out. So here is our meta basalt. It's a cute little piece. It's coming along pretty well. This side still needs work. And you can see, if I can zoom in properly, that so there's the orange is probably quartz. I don't know what the green and blue are. Let's zoom back out. All right, and that one was from Albemarle, Charlottesville area. Yeah, let's get some more kind of similar rocks from that area. There we go. This one's really cool. So it's a green quartz, milky quartz mostly, but it's got these really cool green portions. It still needs more time. It's another meta basalt. This one's quite a bit more quartzy, and it has some pretty cool. If I can, if I can get it just right, you can see it's got these cool little red splotches that I'm excited to see how they turn out. This one here is more of a blue. And these don't necessarily take a perfect polish, but they usually come out pretty nice. Happy birthday, Mia. Or almost birthday, I guess. So yeah, that one should be good. It's another one. It's kind of a yellowy quartz with some green. Not super pretty, but I like it. Here's one. I'm really excited about this one. I love this green color. It's a little small, but it's okay. Should be cute when it's done. Let's see, here we go. This one's kind of an ugly color. So how's everyone's weekend going so far? This is one I wasn't sure about. So on this side, we have kind of a milky quartz with some red iron staining. And then on this side, there's all this green. You can see, look real close, there's not much green left. So I may smooth out the edges on my flat lap just to get it ready and then move it along to the next stage just to keep that green because I think it looks neat. Here's a little teeny tiny one. It's very cool. Colors, very cool colors. Let's see. Ooh, here's a really good example of some of those red splotches that you can find. And people often will call this like a dragon's blood stone. I always like these. I tend to polish relatively well. Uh-oh. One of my favorite crafts. We'll get to that in a minute. Let's see. I'm sure here. Another one? Here's another one of our meta basalt pieces. It's coming along really well. It needs another week probably in the rough grit. That should be all of our basalt and meta basalt. There's some tiny pieces left, of course, but mostly we should be done with them. So let's move on to this pink or rose quartzite that I think is about ready to move on to the next stage. So in the next stage, it will get closer to being able to just kind of shine on its own. Right now they're shiny because they're wet. And here is its sibling. This one maybe could use another week. Because this chip mark here is going to stick out when it's polished. So that one will probably get another week. Let's see, so here is quartzite that I was talking about a minute ago. So this one here, it's a big chip that's new this week right there. So I don't quite know what to do about that. I was hoping these would be really good, like super large pieces, but hasn't quite worked out the way I wanted it to yet. This one's not smooth yet right around here, so it needs another week anyway. So I'll probably put those both back in. It's another quartzite piece. And the quartzite, mostly from, I want to say I got them in Madison County, but I may have forgotten by now. Let's see, Maggie says that the Northern Virginia Rock and Mineral Club is having their rock show in November. Yes, they usually have it around, it's around Black Friday usually, isn't it? But yes, I have been meaning to go to that. I've missed the last couple of years. So thank you for reminding me. I will make sure I get that on my calendar. This is the one that is just the big leftover chunk that wasn't quite usable for, let's see, I don't have one of the actual necklaces, but I've cut a bunch of these cabochons and polished them. You can see there's a spot for the necklace wire on this one. It's not quite finished. This was the same rock, but this area had too much staining and I didn't quite like the color on this portion, so it's just getting tumbled. It's about ready, but so if you look, you can see right here. You can see right there that it is not. It's got a little pocket. Let's see, how do you get them so smooth and shiny? So each week I take the rocks, I put them in what's called a tumbler, along with grit. And the grit is like sandy. It's kind of like stuck on sandpaper. It's silicon carbide. It's hard enough that it, as the rocks kind of roll around in there, they smooth each other out. Right now they're shiny because it's wet, because they've only been through the rough grit stage. But I do have some, like, here's one piece of quartzite that's finished. So this is what it looked like in the end. So you do a rough grit, a medium grit, fine grit, and then you do a polish at the very end. So this is a piece of quartz. It's kind of dirty still. Let's see. Can you clean the crystal? Or would they break up? So you can clean them. You can use, it's called iron out, and it will usually soak out some of the iron staining, if that's what the issue is. Yes, so it's an abrasive. So sometimes you can clean it. It depends on how deep the staining goes. I usually don't try to get it out. I just clean whatever's on the exterior, like dirt and moss, and then let it go and see what happens. So these quartz are from Albemarle County. Let's see, this is a nice, I don't know if you'd call this a blue quartz or not. Probably. I was hoping I would find more blue quartz when I was in Albemarle. But, didn't really get any good samples of it this time. This needs more time, of course, in my rough grit. I always love this color with chert. It's got these really cool like reds. This area up here is still struggling a little bit. Could use some more time. Let's see. Oop. So here is another piece of chert. It's a pretty big chunk. See, there's this pretty serious crack that runs down it. And I keep hoping it will just crack along that line on its own, and I won't have to use my saw to cut it. It looks like maybe the crack, so from here you can tell, it looks like it probably goes kind of around through here. I like the colors and the lines and everything. So we'll see. Yeah, blue quartz isn't usually a good blue, really, around here. Here's another piece of quartzite. This I got in Rockingham County, which I know because the Rockingham County stuff, where I like to look for rocks, always has these little speckles of purple and red, which I haven't found on quartzite in other places in the state. It's a nice, I mean, it's kind of generic, but it's a nice sandy color. It's not quite perfect, but maybe I'll move it. Put it in my maybe pile. I need to look back and see how many rocks I have that are ready for stage one. This came off of the same big piece of chert from a minute ago. This one. Kind of like this little orange colory area here. Yeah, the meta basalt. Let's see, do I have any? I'm not 100% sure if I have any sitting around. I know I have video of it saved that I've been keeping for showing up before and after once those pieces are done. So yes, that's definitely coming. Thank you for asking. I always forget to mention that I do spend way too much time taking before and after pictures and everything with my rocks. So there's a neat little orange. Normally I don't bother with these kind of orange rocks because there's just so many of them. And they're usually not too interesting, but this one has cool little lines on it. Let's see if you can see it there. So I thought that would make a really interesting pattern. So I am polishing that one. And that one's just about ready. So maybe moving it on. And this week you can see I had little scraps left over from, ooh, I've accidentally washed the color out of my lamp. Little straps left over from cutting rocks. I just dumped them all in to use as filler this week. Oh, there's a lot of them, little pieces. Let's see. So this is kind of a clear quartz. Yeah, don't quite need so much light. Yeah, that's better. It's partially clear quartz, and there's this neat little red splotch up at the top. That's kind of cool. So now I want to look at next. Ooh, this is one of them. I don't usually find super clear quartz. So it's always neat when I find one that is fairly clear and it doesn't have a bunch of cracks in it. So when I do find clear quartz or white quartz, it tends to look a little bit more like this once it's polished. It's very white. It's not really milky, and there's a ton of fractures in it. So I always like when I find a piece that isn't covered in fractures. Ooh, this one's coming along really well. I really like this green over here. Oops. Okay. So there's kind of a blue in there, I think, and some yellow. So that'll be really cool when it's done. We've got a nice big chunk of quartz. You can see lots of those little lines and cuts that I was talking about a minute ago. And I mean, it's not like it's too bad on this one, but I do wish it were cleaner. Ooh, this is a good one. It's got some pockets still that are not done, but so this is milky quartz with all sorts of red staining from iron. I always love these pieces, but this area still needs some work. Hey, Frederick. Thank you. I appreciate it. I put a bunch of those in this last few rounds. It's like this smaller one here is probably ready. Here's one. Ooh, agates. I wish we had agate in Virginia. We don't. Some more. This one's very stained. Uh, also is packed with deep crevices, so this one's probably going to be a dud. You can't imagine I will want to wait around long enough for these big holes here to smooth out. A neat little quartz. This is yellow quartz. It's still got this fracture here that I can really feel, so it needs more time. Quartz probably. I feel like quartz is pretty ubiquitous. Um, Oklahoma, I'm trying to think. I feel like out in that area, you might have petrified wood, which is always really fun. This one's coming along. I feel like it needs another week, even though I have a feeling all the issues are things that are not going to actually be fixed with more time. Let's see. Hmm. Should have done a better job adjusting my camera before I started, but it's all right. Ah, there we go. Okay, so this one, I don't know if it's quartz. Probably is. Or chert. Let's see. It's an interesting little quartz. It's got some purple lines from iron staining, along with some more generic yellow iron staining splotches. Oh, it's coming along pretty well, though. And I do, if you go to my channel, I have a bunch of videos where you can see, um, so like a finished tumbled rock like this and what it looked like when it started, what it looked like after a week, usually what it looks like after maybe 2 or 3 weeks, and then what it looks like in the end. Here's a neat little tumbled quartzite piece. It's coming along. It's actually pretty smooth all the way around. I would kind of like it rounder. Here's a nice little piece of quartz that I like. It's not the prettiest, but I do. So I have, my dad bought me these. I have all these chunks of very clear quartz that I haven't been able to decide. Do I want to just keep them like this? Do I want to tumble them? Is it really even quartz? Is that really even quartz? Where's that flag? Well, he at least thought it was quartz that he was buying, and it's the thought that counts. So here is more quartz. This one's a little bit clear or opaque. It's got some staining to it. This white one is never going to finish. All right, so this hole here I'm not waiting for. I had been hoping that maybe the stains didn't go very deep over here. This is probably a good one to soak and iron out and see if some of that comes out. This might be calcite. I'll have to scratch them and see. Isn't another little chip? This one, yeah, this one's ready. So I'm feeling around on the edges to see if I can really feel any cracks that bother me or if it feels like it's ready to move on. This one looks like it should be good. This is a very nice piece of quartzite. Better kind of consistency than I'm used to. I really like this one, and it's ready to move on, which is perfect. Hello, Emily. Yes, rocks. Let's see, let's look at some more clear quartz. Well, say clear, so it's actually clear and it's not. Sounds pretty clear. And I would say it's ready to move on to the next stage. You can see it does still have some of those little cracks that run all the way through, but nothing to be done about that. So I thought I had more chert in here than I do. Must have finished mostly with the chert. I'm gonna have to, next weekend, I'm gonna have to go out maybe and find new rocks to tumble. I really like the colors on this quartz. Here's one that's probably about ready. Again, that's just yellow stained quartz. Here's a sliver of quartzite that I cut and threw in. Actually, I have a piece of that same rock that started to polish. It's not quite done, but I will show it to you. So I haven't quite finished getting all of the, you can see, it took a really nice shine. I need to, let's see, you can see it there. There's some little spots where white dust is still in it from the polishing stage. No, no meth or crack. Just my boring quartz and quartzite. This is kind of interesting spot here. This one's got a little bit of green and blue to it. Still have no idea what this rock is. I guess chert. Hmm. So we could probably use one more week for this little spot here. A nice chert that's chert. I always have trouble deciding when it's time to give up on getting it perfectly smooth all the way around and just taking what I got and moving it along. This rock has turned into kind of an experiment to see how long it will take for me to give up on it. I keep hoping those cracks would kind of smooth out, but it's very brittle around the cracks, and so it's not working out for me. Ooh, this I thought was just a little quartz piece with stuff on it, but looks like it's a quartz piece with all sorts of greenish, bluish stuff. That'll be cool. More stained quartz. Those, when they're done, here's one that I finished polishing. You can see, so I'm guessing those are little cracks that are running through it on the inside. You can see them kind of on this one. So they come out, it's still kind of pretty when it's all said and done. But here's another one that's got similar, I think a little prettier. Although it did have this area that crumbled a little at the end. Here we've got some quartzite. It's about done. Ready to move on to the next stage at least. More milky quartz. A pretty nice clear quartz. Yeah, absolutely, Jenna. Another little clear quartz piece. Very cute. It's got all sorts of stains. Hmm. This one's kind of cute. More that one big quartzite rock that I cut a bunch of little slivers off of. Let's see. Another one of those icky yellow colored ones. Oh yeah, what sort of rocks do you guys tumble? Anything? Do you like go out and collect rocks yourself to tumble or buy raw rocks to tumble? I've actually really liked the rocks that I bought online to tumble. So it's fun to see something from somewhere else. Although I do mostly tumble things I can just find on walks with my dog. I don't know what this is. It feels, it doesn't feel porous, which is usually when I would say I just give up on a rock if it feels porous. It's a cute little milky quartz. Hmm. This one's like a smoky, maybe blue quartz, of course. Let's see. So we're down mostly to smaller rocks. And a lot of these quartz chunks are doing quite well, moving pretty quickly. I like that green, though it does make me nervous. For some reason, I always worry that green might be asbestos, and it's in the rock. It doesn't really matter, but uh, it would make me nervous cutting it. This is cool. It's not perfectly smooth all the way around, but I love this little pattern here. So I'm going to move that on to my next stage. Huh, that's kind of interesting. The chert piece that will never die. Yeah, some of these chert rocks are been in here months now, and I'm tired of them. So more quartz. I didn't find any interesting. Oh, there's an interesting one. I can zoom in on this pattern because it's really cool. Oop, nowhere there, yeah. Yeah, so this is a neat quartz. I like especially over here. There's some like spots that are definitely clear and then like a web underneath. Anyway, most of these are just smaller pieces that are left. Ooh, let's see. Ah, here we go. One more for my little metabasalts collection. Nice little red splotch all over it. It's a cute one. The rest are mostly small rock. We've seen several that are like them already. So, see, this week, finished tumbles include. So I'm going to move on to a bunch of rocks that I've finished tumbling at this point. Now they're polished. Let's see. Okay, I'll zoom back out. Here is some quartzite. We looked at a similar piece a few minutes ago, but so this is one. I had a bunch that had these like little blemishes that wouldn't go away. So I'm gonna have a video where I show some of these rocks that I wasn't sure how they'd turn out. And so I wanted to show kind of before and after for less than perfect rocks, like this piece of quartz here that has cracks all over it. And it's cool that it's shiny. Honestly, it looks better in the video than I think it does in real life. Um, yeah, I thought that would be interesting for people to see kind of what to do with rocks that are not going to ever be perfectly smooth all the way around. And that it was helpful for me at least to see sort of some of those before and afters just for future reference. So like this one is really good most of the way around, but it's got these just little spots here that they're holes that are too deep to really do anything with. So I use a 1000 grit aluminum oxide, and I use a a mini sonic. It's one of the vibratory tumblers, and the instructions said to let it run for 24 hours. I usually let it run for 48 hours, maybe even longer. Um, Aluminum oxide will break down into a finer grit over time. So if you just let it continue running, it will kind of turn itself into like a 2000 or 3000 or whatever grit. I've at least convinced myself that it's helpful that I do that. I don't know if it's really true, but so here's a neat. This is from Bethesda. It's a kind of stained piece of quartz that had, unfortunately, these little cracks over here. But yeah, I use the 1000 grit aluminum oxide. I know some people swear that is not good enough, that you need to go further and use like a 2000 grit. And I'm sure, or 3000 or 8000 or whatever. And I'm sure that does something. It's not like these are pieces of quartz for the most part, or chert. Chert takes a really good polish anyway. I don't think it would be helpful to use a higher grit. And with quartz, you can find quartz anywhere. These aren't like fancy rocks. So I don't know that the additional expense of superfine grit would be worth the trade-off. But yeah, so this is one we looked at a little bit earlier. That area you can see. So this area kind of crumbled in on itself. This one was in my little imperfects pile because it has this chip here, and I couldn't decide how deep it went. And so I was just curious what the chip would look like in the end once it had polished. Here's another quartzite that had similar chips. So I love these quartzite pieces. I find a ton of, especially this color, down around Stanton, Virginia. Um, if you just walk along like trails along the waterfront area in downtown, you'll find a ton that looks just like this. And it has these cool little like speckles that I thought was grit that got stuck in it, but it isn't. I finally figured out after trying for way too long to try and clean it out. This one's got like a little galaxy in it. I love that. Anyway, that was this week's tumbling. I still have some more quartz and smaller barrels and I need to check on, but I'll just post about those later in a recorded video. Oh, here's a piece of chert. So I think I'm just about done. It's been a long day, so I am going to go ahead and sign off and see you guys later. Bye.